Hey, what's up folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Jabra Elite 75Ts. Now, I've been using these things for the past few months, and I want to give myself some time before I came out with the review, because next to the smartphone, a pair of true wireless headset is probably the most important piece of tech that I use on a day-to-day basis. Several hours out of the day, I have these things in the ear listening to my favorite podcasts, audiobooks, and a whole lot of music. In addition to that, I'm doing a lot of training on almost a daily basis for several hours, and having a rugged pair of headphones is an absolute necessity. Now, that being said, I've been using the Elite 65Ts, the previous generation, for the past 2 years, and although they've been great during that time, they've had some reliability concerns that may not be addressed by the new 75Ts. Now, specifically in this video, what I want to do is compare the 65Ts versus the 75Ts in terms of design, build quality, connectivity, the overall sound quality, and battery life, to see whether the price upgrade that you're paying for the new 75Ts, which typically go for around $180, is really worth it compared to the 65Ts, which have been marked down considerably, especially this time around, to like $100 or less. So are the new versions really worth almost double the money is the question we want to address. Now, firstly, let's talk about the overall design and improvements on the 75Ts. You could see that the overall form factor, size, and weight has been shrunken down on the 75Ts, which is definitely a good thing. Now, both in the ear are super comfortable and fairly form-fitting, but you can see the more compact nature of the 75Ts definitely make them more understated and have a slimmer overall profile than the 65Ts, but the 65Ts still are fairly understated in terms of design, which is definitely more my aesthetic. I'm no fashionista or anything like that, but I think the overall kind of simple overall form and function of the 75Ts and 65Ts definitely make them a very neutral looking thing on the ear and indeed your face, and they don't make much of a design statement, unlike other true wireless headsets such as the Apple AirPod and AirPod Pros, which definitely have a bolder design statement. Now, one nice little addition on the 75Ts is the magnetic attach points built inside, so that makes putting them in and out of the charging case super easy and a little bit less cumbersome than the 65Ts. Also, when you don't have them in the case, you can kind of attach them together so they don't separate from each other, making them less likely to lose and a little bit easier to carry when they're not in the charging case. So definitely a little handy and convenient thing right there. Now, one nice thing that Jabra does on pretty much all their headsets is give you full control over all the functionality via the physical buttons. Now, the system is really simple. You basically have one large clicky button on the right, one large clicky button on the left. And to just give you a brief summary in terms of how both of these work in terms of getting all the functionality is basically the right button. If you click it once, that'll pause or play a song. If you're listening to music, it'll answer a phone call or hang up the phone call once you're done. And basically on the left-hand side, if you click it once, it'll enable the hear-through mode, which is super handy. You don't have to take off your earbuds to talk to somebody or to be more aware of your surroundings. If you do a double tap on the right, you will basically enable the voice assistant, whether that's Siri, Amazon Alexa, or the Google Assistant. And if you do a double tap on the left-hand side, you can go to the next track or next song, or if you do a triple tap, you can go to the previous song or repeat the song as well. And obviously, some of this functionality can be changed. If you do want to change the volume up, you basically hold the right button and it'll increase the volume, and hold the left button, that'll decrease the volume. Unlike some other true wireless headsets that you have to go into the actual smartphone setting, or to bring up Siri, for instance, if you want to change the volume on the Apple AirPods, you're not reliant on those kind of factors, since you do have full control and custom controls over your entire headset, which is nice. Now, moving on, let's talk about durability. Now, the 75Ts and 65Ts are pretty much the same on paper. They both have an IP55 rating for both water and dust resistance. And that brings us back to my experience of using the 65Ts for about 18 months now. And overall, like I said, haven't had any major issues, but there have been some issues regarding the left bud, and it's probably due to some sort of water damage due to the fact that I sweat like a waterfall. And basically what's happening is that at occasional times the auto turn on system for the left earbud doesn't turn on. So typically when you take out the buds out of the case, they're supposed to turn on, connect to your device. And on the left hand side, in occasion it doesn't do that, and you have to turn on manually by holding down the left button. The other thing that happens is there's a proximity sensor that stops and plays the music if you, for example, take it out of your ear, which works no problem on the right hand side, but on the left hand side sometimes doesn't work. And also what's more of a major problem is that in occasional times when these things start to heat up in my ear, let's say after a long run or some kind of physically related activity, after a couple hours of usage, basically what starts to happen is that the earbuds tend to kind of fall out of the ear naturally, and the proximity sensor that engages the driver in here doesn't seem to work properly, and I start losing some of the audio quality. It starts to distort, and also the volume and fidelity of the audio out of the left ear starts to go down. Now, I can temporarily fix the issue by jamming it back into my ear, but as soon as I let go, I still encounter that problem. There's a dramatic shift in volume and overall quality of the audio coming out of the left-hand side, and that's now a major issue that has now developed, I would say, for the past 4 months. And again, I'm using it at an extreme level for many hours at a time throughout the day. And if I got the active Elite 65Ts that have an IP56 rating, they are rated for sweat resistance specifically, I may have not encountered that problem. Now, like we mentioned before, the 75Ts have the exact same kind of build quality and durability specs, IP55, and I've only used them again for a brief time period compared to the 65Ts, but in terms of overall build quality and rating, I'm assuming that this problem might occur again on the 75Ts. And the funny thing is the operating temperatures on the 75Ts is not as wide as the 65Ts. These 75Ts have a rating of -5 to about plus 45 degrees Celsius compared to the 65Ts that can go below 10 degrees Celsius and up to 55 degrees Celsius. So the operation temperature rating on the 65Ts is wider, making them possibly more durable than the 75Ts. Now moving on, let's talk about the actual microphone quality on the 75Ts. Now what you're listening to is actually the audio coming out of those 4 microphones. Now they have a noise cancellation technology for wind reduction and to reduce the ambient noise around your environment to improve call quality. Based on my experience, the voice quality is decent, but not as good as things like the new Apple AirPods Pros and indeed the 2nd generation AirPods that have a stem and just a better overall sounding microphone based on my experience. Definitely not bad, but not an improvement from the 65Ts. The other thing I want to also address is the passive noise cancellation technology built inside. Now, we don't have any active noise cancellation like we do with some other headphones, including the Apple AirPod Pros. And some people have complained that the passive noise cancellation on the 75Ts isn't that great. Now, based on my experience, I would say that when you do have them properly installed in your ear with the right ear tips, and I typically like to use the larger size due to the fact that I get more surface area contact and I get better audio quality as well, but you're definitely going to get better passive noise cancellation. And once you're actually listening to some sort of audio source through them, I basically can't hear anything in the ambient environment, and I need to engage the hear-through mode, which is definitely super helpful in order to actually talk to somebody or to be more aware of my surroundings. So in terms of the passive noise cancellation, I don't think it's a big issue. I think it sounds great without active noise cancellation, in my opinion, and that gets us to the actual sound quality of the 75Ts themselves. If you like bass, you're going to love this thing. I haven't encountered any true wireless headset that truly has the same low frequency punch as these things, even more than the 65Ts, which I thought had a lot. Now, in terms of the mid-range and high end spectrum, definitely not as well defined and as characteristics as the low-end punch, but thankfully you can modify the audio spectrum via the Jabra Sound Plus app, which has a built-in equalizer. So if you want to get more treble, more mid-range, and less bass, you can adjust that. There's also many different presets in the app as well. So definitely in terms of sound quality, I would say it's an absolute stunner in terms of that, and one of the reasons why I really do enjoy it. And it definitely sounds better than the 65T, so that's definitely a good improvement. Now, lastly, let's talk about the big selling factor on the 75Ts, which is the battery performance. You're looking at up to 7.5 hours for the buds themselves and up to 28 hours for the USB-C charging case. That's a lot better than 5 hours on the buds on the 65Ts, and the charging case will get you a measly 15 hours comparatively, which also use micro USB to charge the actual case itself. And that definitely is a big difference. Now, in real life, I did manage to get above 6.5 hours of typical usage, and I'm listening to pretty high volumes, and that's going to be a big factor on these things. Versus after about 18 months of usage, I'm struggling to get 4 hours out of the 65T. So that's definitely something to consider. But at the end of the day, when it comes to summing up everything we've talked about, I think for double the price, don't think the 75Ts are worth it, especially for a brand new pair of 65Ts that are not going to have the issues that I have encountered after almost 2 years of usage. But at the end of the day, if you want something a little bit more durable, you also have the Active Elite 65Ts available for several dollars less than the 75Ts. Now, the 75Ts will still have better audio quality, battery life, better overall design in my opinion, but probably are not going to be as durable as, let's say, the Jabra Sport True Wireless headset or the Active Elite 65T. So if you're looking for ultimate rugged performance and want to go with Jabra, probably those options are going to be better than the 75Ts based on my experience. But really, other than that, guys, I still think the 75Ts are fantastic. The thing that would have been kind of a nice convenient factor would be a wireless charging Qi case like we have on some other devices such as the Samsung Galaxy Buds and indeed the new Apple AirPods and AirPod Pros have wireless charging, but that's being a little nitpicky in my opinion. As it goes, 65Ts are still my favorite true wireless earbuds out there, especially for the price now. So if you're interested, definitely check out the description down below for more details about the latest information about pricing and everything like that. In the meantime, I want to give you guys a big thank you for watching our content, making all this stuff possible, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think is the best true wireless headset out there right now. We'll see you later and take care.